Seems like an influx of fire. Things maybe move. Well, we had a massive influx of fire in April when we had that 7-planet lineup of all of these planets in Aries, which was crazy that that happened, that we had so much in Aries at once. So we kind of went through that. We went through the massive initiation fire energy already. Now we do have planets that, yes, are sprinkling around. They're going into Leo. There's some that are in some that are in Aries, but we have Cancer. We have water signs. We have earth signs. These are balancing. These are counterweight energies. So not that it's being tempered, but it's being checked a little bit. So it's not like we have uncontrolled fire, but we do have a lot of air. We have outer planets that are in air signs. So air and fire go together. They're activating. So some of the energy and the momentum that we feel sometimes has to do with the air activations, not just the fire. And because we know we have both, that's where you apply oxygen to a flame, it gets bigger. That's how we want to think about it. So we do have just a general through line of that happening with some of these outer planet ingresses. And then when we have Jupiter going into a fire sign, it's going to add more heat to that flame. Chiron goes into Taurus, earth sign, out of a fire sign. So we have a total shift of our planetary distribution. Plus, of course, those personal planets, which are moving at a much faster clip. So that's going to give us pockets throughout the year of them being in fire and air signs, and then others where we're going to really need to lean on them when they are in water and earth signs to counteract what's going on and what has been going on in the collective. So Venus is peace, harmony, and love, and it conjoins the other benefic planet, Jupiter. So we start off the month with the two of them hanging out together in the same exact spot. So that is because I mentioned earlier, Venus has been moving through Cancer. Jupiter has been in Cancer for the last year. So Venus gets to that final degree point, and remember how it squared Chiron at the final degree? Well, it's also going to be sitting there with Jupiter preparing to enter Leo. So they're going to be co-present again. They're both going to, in relatively short time, enter the sign of Leo. Venus will spend significantly less time there. On average, it takes Venus like 4 weeks to move through a sign, unless it retrogrades, which it won't here. And Jupiter takes an entire year. So just to focus on Venus for the time being, this is a tag teaming opportunity for Venus. So we want to realign with our growth journey. We want to take in, what did Jupiter learn over the last year? And how can I incorporate that into what I just learned, Venus, over the last several weeks? What do I need to take with me as I go into my next chapter, entering Leo? So, a good question. How can we grow while still honoring ourselves? And where can we expand, Jupiter, our heart and sense of compassion? 4 days later, Venus will then move into Leo and embrace the light. Leo is ruled by the sun. So we can expect increased playfulness, confidence, creative expression, loyalty. So those bonds that we are so focused on, they're tight. We want to be connected with other people. And we may find that we have a particular interest in our personal style, feeling a little extra fashionable, caring about our appearance and how we look and how we present. And again, with any of these things, it can be a pro and a con, but by and large, we like to consider a benefic transit as one that gives us opportunities. We have this ingress. And then Venus is like ping-ponged around with a bunch of different activations. So on June 15th, 16th, and 17th, we have back-to-back-to-back interactions with the outer planets. So first, on the 15th, Venus and Uranus, that's a trine. Or sorry, not a trine. Whoa. I didn't mean to trigger. Confetti. So we have that activation. We have that activation going on. And then on the 16th, we have a similar activation with Neptune in Aries. And then the 17th, Pluto in Aquarius. So we will experience two trines, which are drawing forth this like revolutionary and really inspired energy. So it's amplifying these long-term journeys that we are having. Venus is also giving them a bit of a tender boost and a reminder. How can we find peace in the disruption, in the disillusionment? So a question that we could ask is, how can we embrace change? How can we find a silver lining? And then with Pluto, we have an opposition. So with Venus in Leo, that is directly opposite in a sister sign to Pluto, which has been moving through Aquarius since November of 2024. So that's on the 17th, that third day. And this is sparking this kind of bubbling of sensitivities. What's uncomfortable? That's Pluto. It's what is below the surface, what is unconscious. So we are learning a little bit about what is uncomfortable about our rebirth journey. And something that we could consider is, what balance do we need to bring into our lives, specifically in this Leo area of our chart, to help us to transform in the long term? This is no small task. Venus normally just goes through a sign and it's like, okay, how can I make things lighter? And how can I connect to people more? And how can I be creative? And how can I relax and make sure I'm unwinding? Venus does not get that through its trip through Leo, because it has all of these major outer planet activations. It's like, consider this, consider that. What about this? So we actually have to kind of get introspective. We might get a little bit uncomfortable at these different points. We have to infuse a lot of information. Plus, we just came off of the conjunction with Jupiter. So we also had that. So we have Jupiter, then Uranus, then Neptune, then Pluto, all in a pretty short period of time, all of those activations in a row. And that is going to inform how we are operating. So it might feel a little bit bumpier than we might have liked or hoped to have Venus moving through this sign. It's just because we have a lot that is incoming. It's having us reevaluate what it means to relax, what it means to connect, what it means to take care of ourselves, and what it means to shine, to be creative, to present, to perform, to hopefully be authentic in our self-expression. We also have to bring Saturn into the mix. So then it's going to trine Saturn. Again, if we had a Neptune activation in Aries, that means then Venus is going to keep moving and it's going to connect also with Saturn, which is in the same sign. So that will be coming on June 25th, during which time we're going to gather ourselves together, think about everything that we were challenged by throughout this whole month. What are all the things that we learned? What does it mean for us? What does it mean for our values? The question that came through is, who can help us to be the best version of ourselves? Let's look to our community. Let's look to our relationships around us. Who is going to help us with that long-term steady growth, with the integration of everything that has come up throughout the month of June? And separately, who is holding us back that we really need to set boundaries with? And the boundary could look like, goodbye, no, this doesn't work for me. It could mean changes in how you are communicating or operating or when with them. It could be less time. It could be stepping away, but not a conclusion. So there's a lot of questions within that question that we're going to want to think about once we identify these people. So yeah, Venus is incredibly busy during the month of June. And we don't want to lose sight here that we also were talking about a very, very busy Mercury in the first forecast. And these are two personal planets. These are ones that are intimately affecting our day-to-day, how we think, how we flow, how we connect to other people, how we can settle within ourselves, how we can process. It's a lot that is going on that's ping-ponging around with both of these planets pretty much all month long. So this is why there's a lot of opportunity, of course, in June, but it may feel like I'm seeing the visual. It's like we're in a bag and we're being like shaken around within the bag because there's just a lot of things that might be coming at us. There's a lot that we're being asked to process, to look at, to think about. Doesn't mean that we need to run around and immediately change everything in our lives, but there's things that come up. There's questions to ask, clearly. Even if you just want to follow my list of a billion questions at this point, you'll see them. I'll include them in the description for each of the forecasts, but there's a lot of questions. You could just take all of these out, and as these transits are happening, just ask yourself these questions and just see what comes up. To move on to our other benefic planet, we have Jupiter. So this is a very different journey, and it's a lot more simple, but still notable. It's really of significance, just as the Chiron ingress, we have a Jupiter ingress. So before that happens, Jupiter exits its post shadow. So it's during the first week of June. So it has an annual retrograde, just as all the outer planets do. Retrogrades one time. That means there's the pre-shadow, the retrograde, the post-shadow. So it exits the post-shadow, the very, very last moments. It was in Cancer the entire time, but it was retracing a lot of the work that it did, reflecting, maybe shrinking, maybe dialing back. So this is a great day, this conclusion here, to think about the entire retrograde cycle, which started in August, can you believe it, of 2025. And so that was the pre-shadow. And then the actual station retrograde was 11/11, November 11th, 2025. And that's really a long period of time. We can reflect on either the whole retrograde cycle. We can reflect on just the retrograde, the most intense part of it. Because this is really the bulk of our journey of Jupiter in Cancer, and we are preparing to close it out. And we're not going to be back there for another approximately 12 years' time. Where can we live a little bit bigger? And how can we expand our comfort zone? Because this is our last push. It's our last push here. Where do we still need to get a little bit out of our comfort zone, push the boundaries a little bit, be willing to grow a little bit more? And this could be as relates to intuition, caretaking, in general relationships, self-care, all of the above, things that would be helpful for us to grow. And this is a really great time to do that review. And then we have the ingress into Leo. So for context, just to place us in here, that's happening on the 30th, right at the end of the month, very early in the morning Eastern time. So for you want to check your time zone. It could be happening on the 29th. Here, we can expect the abundance to be shifting from the Cancerian areas to that of creativity, radiant self-love, and generosity. We're eager to share happiness with others. And it's not only about self-expression, like just me, which, could be a little bit of that. Maybe we need a little bit more of me with this Leo energy and centering ourselves a little bit more in some ways. But it's also about learning skills and trying new hobbies. And again, that self-expression can be, how am I engaging with the world? What am I learning? Jupiter, I want to learn. I want to understand. I want to grow. I want to evolve. And it's in a way that's playful, in a way that is very connected. And it's an opportunity for us to try to check our ego at the door. We don't want to get our ego big with Jupiter and Leo. We don't want that to grow and our heads ballooning. We want to be able to be in touch with ourselves and to express ourselves and to evolve. We want to evolve and we want to grow and we want to take up more space, but we don't want to be the only voice in the room. We do want to connect with other people. We want to connect with other ideas and people and have that spark and that banter. Because we're enlightened through play and living life with joy and laughter at the center. And we don't want to just be sitting in a corner laughing with ourselves all the time. We want to laugh with other people. We want to connect. That's really important that we are in connection with other people. The message that came through was that we are reviewing our growth and we are finding new ways to shine. So by and large here, across both of these forecasts, June is finding us discovering a lot about ourselves. This is including our innate abilities. We're talking a lot about our intuition, our gifts, what we have to offer, what we have to explore and discover within ourselves. Also, the relationship that we have with others, relationship with our boundaries, our values, and our core wounds. We are asking a lot of questions, so many questions. I didn't even count them because the list was growing. There's a lot of questions. That is the discovery energy. We want to understand more. We want to know more. And it's also being thrust upon us. We must know more. We must learn more. We must see things for how they are and how we're being asked to pivot, how we're being asked to recalibrate, to readjust for the new beginning that we prepared for all month long in May. We're in the new beginning. We are shifting. Have transformed. So we are tweaking. We're tweaking along the way, and we are understanding ourselves better from this journey. When we have patience and we have an open heart to just experience all of it for how it is, for what is coming through. If we close up, then we're not going to receive what is necessary to just keep moving forward. So if we have patience and the open heart, and we are allowing ourselves to express authentically, heal at a steady pace, it is not a competition, it is not a race. Let's just tackle, here's one thing at a time. What have I learned? What does that mean? What do I integrate? Okay, next. And just keep doing that over and over and over again. And then folding in all of the lessons. We can do that with ease. We have that support. We have these benefic planets that are moving in. We have a lot of trines. We have the opportunity to bring in everything, understand what it is that we need to know, and to be able to just soak all of that up. All right, I hope that this was helpful. Again, I know this was a lot of information. This is a busy month. So please don't hesitate if you have questions. When this goes out on YouTube, you can also leave comments below if you have questions. You can send me a message on Insight Timer, my email, my socials. If anything comes up, feel free to inquire.